Okay? And that's what exactly I'm going to do. I can see everyone is alert. You're pushing me to a cone of tension. But I'll share exactly what happened. It was in the year 2019. About 5 years ago. The Lord allows me to share my story about the accusations of my husband after 5 years of being gone. In 2019, 2018, and I think in 2017, 2016, we are very busy going out there in the missions. We had big programs. Some of these programs, we are given appointments, invitations, I should say, 2 years before, and we had to meet them. Okay? And we are not home most times. The ministry had given it to the pastors who had left home. There was Pastor Farida. There was a pastor who had lost his ministry. His ministry had closed down in Nairobi. And because we are kind people, he had come back to Uganda. We just all told him, come here while you sort yourself out. He came with his wife. Then there was another pastor, some other lady who had been ordained pastor. So we had four pastors on ground. The other pastor, this one with his wife, our president pastor now. 4 pastors on ground. But the resident pastor was very new that time. So, we are moving up and down. 2019. It was in the month of February. And a personal friend, an intercessor as well, looked for me and told me that, Juliet, the devil is planning to disgrace and shame your marriage. I said, okay, I'll pray about it. And I prayed. But because I was very busy, I could pray anytime. At the time I remembered. So it was February, March, April. In April, my husband began falling sick. I remember we were coming from Sri Lanka and he was very sick at the airport. He was weak. And we had one more mission to do in May. It was in Asia. We wanted to cancel it. But I remember before end of 2018, before 2019 came in, it was in December. And we had a fast for the church, that 40 days fast here in church. And while we were fasting, no, it was a personal fast. The other one had ended. Now this was his personal fast, 40 days. The Lord told him, it's not your fast that I want. I want you. Stop all what you're doing and come before me. So he told God, I have these invitations. People are waiting. People have put everything in place. They have spent so much money for these conferences. How can I even cancel? God kept quiet. February, March, God told him, I need you. He said, okay, the one of May will be the last one. After that, I'll come. In April, he began falling sick. When we went in prayer, the Lord revealed to us that there was an evil altar that had been raised in church. I said, okay. Somehow, we got to know everyone who was on this altar. But prior to this, there was someone who was our interpreter in church. Prior to this, there was someone who was our interpreter in church. Some young, he was the interpreter that time. And we had spotted him in a lot of things in the spirit. And the most big thing that he was doing is that he was in adultery. My husband warned him several times and told him, I see you, your walk with God is not right. Put your life right. And he could smile and say nothing. And God sent some people who were also my friends to talk to him. They were not church members, but from where they were, they saw him. And he said, no, the immoral, that's the spiritual. He said that the adultery that God is talking about is this spiritual adultery. where you go from one pastor to another.
ogenda okuva omusumba omu n'ogenda ku mulala.
But then I kept interceding for this man.
Naye nze nasigala nsabira omusajja ono.
And one time,
Era lumu
something happened.
waliwo ekyabaawo.
We could see girls leaving church and we didn't know why.
Nga ffe tulaba balaba ba mu kanisa naye nga tetumanye lwaki.
But you know, as you know them, they know their things.
Naye ng'obamanyi bo bamanyi ebyabwe.
He was on the pulpit promising marriage to this one, that one.
Ng'ali ku ky'obutuuti naye ng'asuubiza obufumbo ono oli.
Then he says, we must sleep,
Ng'agamba nti
because we are going to get married.
nga tugenda kufumbiriganwa.
So we kept saying, something is wrong.
Nga tusigala tugamba waliwo ekikyamu.
And we knew what was wrong.
Era nga n'ekikyamu tukimanyi.
But we had never gotten any chance
Naye nga tetufunangayo
to
mukisa.
get this person red-handed.
Kusanga muntu ono lubona.
I could talk to him,
Nabanga njogera
but had
naye,
not gotten
naye nga sifunanga
something that I can stand on.
kintu kye nnyinza kuyimirirako.
And so the worship team was getting empty.
Omanyi worship team yali yeekala.
You could ask someone left, what happened?
Ng'obuuza omuntu kyekyabadde.
This person, after, dating this one, dumps, picks another one.
Okwogerezeganya
The ministers.
n'abaweereza.
And what happened was that
Ekyabaawo kye kino.
we had a friend
Twalina mukwano
who was
gwaffe.
not even born again.
Yali sinamulokole.
He had a big job,
Yalina omulimu munene.
but this time he had lost his job.
Naye kuno omulimu gwali guwedde.
He was at home,
Yali waka.
a husband, very responsible husband.
Omufumbo omusajja wa
So he started
buvunaanyizibwa.
coming to church.
N'atandika okujja mu kanisa.
But this man
Naye omusajja ono
was busy dating his daughter.
yali ate ayogerezeganya ne muwala we.
So the daughter got pregnant.
Omuwala ono n'atoola olubuto.
This friend of ours one time comes looking for me
Ono mukwano gwaffe lumu n'ajja nga nnoonya
at home.
ewaka.
We had just come back from one of the nations.
Twali twakadde okuva muli mu
And this time,
era lugulu
we are
bulungi.
building this new church. We are about to open the church,
Twali
to
tuzimba
launch it.
ekkanisa eno empya nga tunaatera okugiggula.
So when he came here, pastor was very busy.
bwe yajja ano omusumba yali
He
busy.
had my number. He decided to call. I told him, come home.
Yalina ennamba yange n'akuba ne mugaa jangu ewaka.
So he brought this before me.
N'akindeetera kino.
My daughter is pregnant.
Mulanga alina olubuto.
The father, the person who did this,
Omuntu eyakola kino.
is your interpreter.
Ye
I
mwe-
was shocked.
Muvunuzi wammwe kyankanga.
I was shocked.
Kyankanga.
Because I'd taken time on this man,
Kubanga nali
his
ntudde
life,
akaseera ku muntu ono,
his
obulamu bwe-
personal life,
obulamu bwe
his
obwa
financial
sekino,
life.
obulamu bwe obw'ebyenfuna.
Everything concerning him,
Buli
his mother when
kimukwatako.
she's sick,
Mama
his
nga
family.
mulwadde, family.
Said, wow, how are we going to handle this now?
Ne ŋŋamba kino tugenda kikola tutya.
When my husband came home, I told him.
Omwami wange bwe yajja ne mmugamba.
But then I did not get so surprised because I had seen things in the spirit.
Naye era tekyannewuunyisa nnyo kuba nali ndabye ebintu mu mwoyo.
For a long time, we wanted him to sit, but he was the only interpreter, the only person who could interpret.
Olumu twayagala atule naye nga teeka yaliwo asobola
He had
okubuulira.
been brought in ministry by a certain pastor who had now gone to begin his own ministry.
Yaleetebwa mu buweereza omusajja omu omusumba yali agenza ate okutandika
And
obuweereza
this
bwe.
pastor
Era
brought him
omusumba
in
n'amuleeta
and left him as the interpreter.
ate n'amulekawo ng'omu-
That pastor had also
ng'omuvunuzi.
been the interpreter.
N'oli omusumba yali muvunuzi.
So we asked him to sit.
Ne tumusaba atuule.
And when we asked him to sit, the first thing my husband did,
Bwe twamusaba atuule, mwami
was
wange
to pray
kyasooka
for
kukola,
him.
kwali kumusabira.
he really prayed for him that night in
Yamusabira
church.
ekiro ekyomu
But
kanisa.
in the congregation, he had 3 girls.
Naye mu congregation namu abawala basatu.
He had one who was very close to me.
Yalinamu eyali annina.
She had even told me that this man had promised her marriage.
Yali aŋŋambye nti omwami ono
I told her it is impossible. You cannot get married to this man.
Tuyinza kufumbirwa musajja.
He's not the right man for you.
Si mutuufu gy'oli.
We will talk.
Tujja kwogera.
We were traveling.
Twali tutambula.
When we left,
bwe twagenda.
chaos took over the ministry.
Akatabanko ne kawamba obuweereza.
So my husband
Omwami wange.
made him sit.
N'amutuuza.
And for him, he was ready to go.
Ye yali yeetegese okgenda.
He had two girls. This one,
Yalina abawala babiri ono.
and then the other one
N'omulala.
was at the university. She could come once in a while.
Yali ku university nga yajja bwalumu.
And she was, I think, for money. She had a good job. So he could get money from her.
Oyo yaka yali bwa ssente kuba yamuggyangako ssente.
He was so corrupt.
Yali mutabufu nnyo.
So when we made him sit,
Bwe twamutuuza.
the one who was so close to me got angry.
Oyo yali anninaanye n'anyiiga.
How can they even cast demons out of my husband to be in the presence of the congregation?
Omwami wange anaabeera omwami wange bamugobako batya dayimoni mu maaso g'abantu ng'ekibiina kijjudde.
Now I'm going to revenge.
Kati ŋŋenda kuwoolera.
I'm going to revenge.
Ŋŋenda kuwoolera.
They made their altar.
Ne bakola ekyoto
They
kyabwe.
began praying for James to
Ne
die.
batandika okusabira omwami wange afe.
They made agreements which we saw.
Ne bakola endagaano
They made their covenants.
Bawandiika endagaano
They
zaabwe.
could meet and pray.
Basisinkana ne basaba.
I had a lot of things.
Nawulira ebintu bingi.
Before we knew,
Tuba tokyali awo.
they were now going out there.
Kati nga bafuluma ate.
This man who's preaching righteousness,
Ono omusajja yali asomesa obutuukirivu.
he has a child out of wedlock.
Alina omwana wabweru w'obufumbo.
This man who's preaching
Ono
righteousness,
omusajja asomesa obutuukirivu.
every woman on the pulpit,
Buli mukyala ali ku kituuti.
he has gone out with her.
Yali
Whatever now the other man was doing,
kyonna kati omwami ono kye yali akola.
now she had to revenge on me.
Kati kubanga yali alina okuwoolera gye ndi.
That is what
Ekyo ki?
the husband is doing.
Ye mwami ate gwe yali asuubira okufuumira kyali akola.
They began moving places.
Baatandika okutambula wano.
But one thing I like about God,
Naye kimu kye njagala ku Katonda.
if someone falsely accuses you
Omuntu omu singa akuwaayiriza
and you keep quiet,
n'osirika.
because as for me,
Kubanga nze
God asked me to keep quiet,
Katonda yaŋŋamba nsirike.
and I kept quiet.
Ne nsirika.
At one point, he asked me,
Lumu yansaba.
when Jesus Christ was on the cross,
Yambuuza Yesu Kristo bwe yali ku musaalaba.
what did he do to those who were nailing him?
Abaali bamukomerera yabakola ki?
Now I understood clearly
Awo ne nkitegeera bulungi.
that I was on my cross.
Nali ku musaalaba gwange.
And because I was on my
Era
cross,
kubanga nali ku musaalaba
and my
gwange.
husband was also on his cross,
Ng'era n'omwami wange ali ku musaalaba
so we
gwe.
had to carry the
Ffe
cross.
twali tuteekeddwa okwetika omusaalaba.
And my husband had told me
Omwami wange yali aŋŋambye.
that God told him that if anything or anyone accuses you,
Katonda yali aŋŋambye nti singa omuntu yenna
never
akuteekako
ever
omusango,
reply
tobaanukula.
back. Never.
Tobaanukula.
So all that time, from the time he was a young minister,
Kale okuva mu biseera nga
God
ndi
gave
muweza
him
muto,
that instruction.
bwe yali nga muweereza
That's why you
Katonda
can never
amuwa
see him
ekiragiro
answer
ekyo.
anyone.
Ky'oba tolimulaba ng'alina gwayanukudde.
Even if you're here physically, you attack him, he'll look at you.
Ne bw'oba ng'oli wano buliwo n'omulumba ajja kutunuulira.
So is me.
Nange bwe nti.
But in now keeping quiet,
Naye mu kusirika
we are
kwaffe
not fools.
tetuli basiru.
We know what we are doing.
Ffe tumanyi kye tukola.
So they began moving.
Ne batandika
The
okutambula.
child they're accusing my husband of,
Nga omwana gwe basiba ku
even
mwana wange,
today,
n'olwaleero
he's a child of my sister,
mutabani wa muganda wange.
my sister,
muganda
who
wange
was living, I'd called her
nali mu-
home that time
nali muyise waka
because there is a course I wanted her to study.
kubanga nalina kosi gye nali
So she was living with me.
yabadde asula nange
But she had her man somewhere
Naye alina
out there.
omusajja we wantu wamu eyo
Fortunately,
ekizibu
one morning, me and my husband,
lumu nze n'omwami
I was going to attend to a certain altar somewhere to pray.
nalina ekyoto kye ŋŋendako
We met her,
ne tumusanga
and I got a chance to see the father of this boy.
ne nfuna omukisa okusisinkana tata w'omulemu
We saw her, and she even didn't see us.
twamulaba naye ye teyatulaba
Okay, so we went home.
ne tugenda ewaka
I even didn't tell her that we saw her,
nze saamugamba nti n'okumulaba twomulabye
and I think she has never known.
era manyi tamanyanga
We looked at this man.
twatunuulira
We
omusajja
parked it there with my husband and looked at her.
twapaakinga n'omwami wange tumutunuulira
Okay? And she could go for her studies.
yagendanga n'asoma
A time came,
akaseera kaatuuka
my husband warned her twice,
omwami
actually
wange
thrice,
n'amulabula emirundi
that I
esatu
can see you getting pregnant.
nti nkulaba ng'ofuna
I've
olubuto
seen you pregnant.
nkulaba ng'olubuto
Be very careful.
weegendereze
Then I also saw this
nange ne nkiraba
and I told
ne
her.
mmugamba
Okay? So the last time we warned her,
omulundi gwe twasembayo mmulabula
a few months down the road, she was pregnant.
wayita emyezi mitono nnyo ng'alina olubuto
And now that one concerned with this did not want to know.
kati ate nannyini lubuto yali tayagala kumanya
And I couldn't throw her out.
ng'ate sinzamu kasuka bwiru
I realized this was the time she really needed. The first few months, let me tell you, I lost my cool.
emyezi egyasooka kambabuli natabuka
Because I'd given her all my time,
kubanga nali muwadde obudde
I'd
bwange
taught her a lot of
nali
things,
muyigiriza
I'd
ebintu bingi.
invested in her.
nali mutaddemu kinene
I felt bad.
nawulira bubi
But at the end of the day,
naye ekyenkomeredde
I had to forgive her.
nali nina omusonyiwa
She went back home
yaddayo ewaka
to her parents' home and she gave birth.
n'azaala
And because there was no one to take care of her,
kuba tewali wamulabirira
we took the responsibility.
ne tutwala obuvunaanyizibwa
God told me
katonda n'aŋŋamba
that child she's going to give birth to
oyo omwana gwe wagenda okuzaala
is going to be my servant.
agenda kuba muweereza wange
Okay? So when she gave birth,
kati bwe yazaala
God told me
katonda n'aŋŋamba
concerning this baby here,
ebikwata ku
I'm not
mwana
looking at the mother.
nze sigenda kutunuulira maama we
Whatever concerns him,
byonna ebimukwatako
his life and his growth,
obulamu bwe
I'm
n'enkola ye,
looking at you because that is going to be my servant.
nze ntunuulidde ggwe kubanga ye agenda okuba omuweereza wange
I said, okay. So one time she comes back home
lumu adda ewaka
when this child was now 1 year
omwana ono ng'awezezza omwaka
and asks me
n'ambuuza
to come back home
n'ansaba
in my home.
mu maka gange
So she says,
agamba nti
whatever you taught me,
kyonna kye wanjigiriza
I have not done.
sikoze
But this child,
naye omwana ono
I'll teach him.
nja kumuyigiriza
I welcomed her home.
ne mmwaniriza n'akomawo ewaka
But I first talked to my husband.
nasooka kwogera na
When
mwami
she
wange.
talked to him, my husband told him, if you want this child and yourself to come back home,
omwami wange n'amugamba oba
that
oyagala
is going to be my wife's decision, not mine.
omwana oyo abeere wano naawe genda kuba kusalawo kwa
She said,
mukyala
I've already talked to her.
n'amugamba nti
But she
namugamba
hasn't given an answer
naye
yet.
tannanziramu
But when God talked to me,
naye katonda bwe yayogera
I
nange
called them back home.
ne mbagamba ne bakomawo ewaka
So this time they give this story
kati kana
when she's back in my home.
boogera olugero ono ng'akomyewo wange ate
Okay? I was home, I remember.
nali waka nzijukira
The pastors who had vowed to fight the ministry,
abasumba baali beerayiridde okuwalana
one of them
n'okuweereza.
sent me a message.
omu ku bo nampeereza obubaka
The child you see is your husband's child.
oyo omwana gw'olaba wa mwami wo
your husband has a child out of wedlock.
omwami wo yazadde omwana wabweri w'obufumbo
They told me things.
n'aŋŋamba ebintu
Do you know what I did?
omanyi kye nakola
That time,
mwaka
there
kaseera
was a lot of chaos in the ministry.
waaliwo akatabanko kangi mu
They
buwe
were telling each and everyone.
baali bagamba buli muntu
And it is only a few
era batono nnyo
who were connected to the throne
abaali bayungiddwa ku
that they survived the storm.
abaavoonoka omuyaga ogwo
And after the storm, God told me
era omuyaga we gwagwa
that whoever left,
buli eyagenda
they were supposed to leave.
baali bateekeddwa okugenda
Whether they were
oba
pastors
baali
or
basumba
ministers,
oba baali baweereza
they had to leave.
baali bateekeddwa okugenda
The people that are left now
abantu
are the people I want you to have.
be njagala omubeera
They are the people who are supposed to continue this
be
ministry.
bantu
With
abalina
this
okwongerayo
ministry.
obuweereza buno
There were a few,
baali batono
but they were the only chosen ones.
naye be baali balondeddwa
So when they told me these
bwe
things,
baŋŋamba ebintu bino
my husband had traveled.
omwami wange yali atambudde
He had gone. We had been invited. He had been invited. We had been invited, but then I stayed.
twali twaniriziddwa naye nze neesigala
He had just left. That day he left.
olunaku lwe yagenda
This message came to me.
obubaka buno ne bujja
Imagine yourself
bweteeberezaamu
in a house
oli mu nju
with your sister
ne muganda wo
and this this innocent boy.
ne omwana ono atalina musango
Someone brings this kind of message to you.
omuntu n'akuweereza obubaka buno
After that, they came physically. What would you do?
bwe oyinza kukola ki
At first, it hit me really hard.
kyankuba
I sat on the dining table.
natuula ku dining
I looked at the boy.
ne ntunuulira omwana
My
omulenzi
sister was busy cooking.
sisange ng'afumba
I looked at her.
ne mutunuulira
I stood up,
ne nsituka
went to my bedroom.
ne ngenda mu kisenge kya
I locked it
ne nsibawo
and I sat on the bed
ne ntuula ku buliri
and I told God,
ne ŋŋamba katonda
I want to know
njagala okumanya
whether I'm an orphan,
oba ndi mulekwa
that this kind of thing can happen in my marriage,
nti ekintu bwe kiti kiyinza okuba mu bufumbo bwange
and you're there looking.
nga gy'oli olaba